Yes, good night, and thank you for having me.
Good night, Caswell. So good to see you, my good
Yes,
friend.
same to you, Freddie. I'll tell you all something. See, this is the expected outcome of what I'd like to call the state-sponsored decadence of this thing called CROPOVER.
Yes.
CROPOVER is not indigenous to Barbados or even started by Barbadians. CROPOVER, as a lot of people don't want to believe it because even the historians have lied and talking about it was going back from the slaves. They don't know it started in 1974. It started in 1974 by a Grenadian man who was working for the tourist board, and that he was supposed to get tourists to come to Barbados during the off season because we had a season that was tour season, and then we didn't have one. So they wanted to have people coming throughout the year. And Marshall's Julian Marishaw, his role was to try to get tourists to be attracted to Barbados at this time of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And he came up
Yes.
with this concept. Then a few other people jumped on with Lumber Motley and a few others. And but they were saying, if we do not make this applicable to the people of Barbados, make the people of Barbados want to join in, it will die. So therein, this where it started in 74. I was a little boy then. But it started in 74. Not all this grand history that people give it, it is their life. Then the governments have seen how, and successive governments, not one, not the next, successive governments have seen that it gives the kind of thing that will take attention away from them, give people something to jump about, or they will forget what the politicians are doing. And that is why you will see what we were complaining about last week and the week before, the National Insurance Day. That is why government put it the week before, or a couple of days before, for poor jam because they know that when the people walking up in this frenzy, that the minds ain't gonna be concerned about their own life and situation. They want a situation where we are mindless people gyrating and jumping up to the world to hell, and they don't care because they will get elected. And they can sit back and let the people forget everything in this society. Everything. When there's an opening for anything, you have jumping up people. You don't have any classical anything, not educational forums or anything like that. You just
Mm-hmm.
have people walking up because this is the mindless nonsense that they want people to be involved in, so that they would the population would be out there jammed up in their frenzy, and the politicians will be moving through, carry the pensions, carry everything, carry the livelihoods. Only today I said to somebody, look, you see some of these same young women that you see jumping up on the street. They work in banks, they work in offices, they work in ministries, and they're out there wearing a panty that's less than the size of my hand. If they were walking on the street the next day after this thing, and the wind blow their clothes up, people pull it down in embarrassment. But no, because you have this wild satanic frenzy going on. That's what it is. That they jump out there, they don't care. Something, you know, they're out there naked, almost naked walking through, and I'll tell you, at this 4 morning thing, some of them are actually naked. And the only thing that covering their body is the paint. And so their minds are now warped. And this is what the politicians want. They don't teach us anything. They don't about culture. They don't try to develop any other aspect of what they call our culture other than this mindless nonsense that they're doing. And the government is doing it. Every time they have a function now, they open up this big space, they call it the National Botanical Gardens, and every time they have something, they're jamming up and kicking it up. You have unions celebrating workers, and they're jamming up, kicking up, and all kind of nonsense. All of it is conditioning, mind conditioning. These politicians know what they're doing, and it started to bear fruit, and they see it, so they love it. And so while there are the people in the country are walking up and jumping up and gyrating, so you have to bring out the children in because the old people get into old arthritis and then kicking in, so they can't do it anymore. So you have to get a new um, cohort coming through to start this whole nonsense all over again. You have kiddies can do it. I always tell them, let the children be children. You have so many years that you can jump up on the street. You don't need to do it at 6 and 7 and 8. But people are so mindless. They take their children down and the children in the hot sun panting like animals. They ain't getting the water, and they feel good about it because it is mind control. It is conditioning, and all for political gain. Nothing more. One party, one outdo the next. And our little children are going to suffer as a result. This cohort you see walking behind these women now. First of all, this woman has no shame. But
correct.
Caswell, that woman there is a child. That woman there is not a big adult. That is a child. She's
But you had two others that were big women, Miss Pastor.
I saw on the other one.
Yeah.
There's a saying. I know I'm going to quote it incorrectly, but it's something like, "Bring up the children in the way they shall go." So
when they're old, they will not depart from it.
And this is what the politicians are doing. They want mindless little children. They want people smoking weed and jumping up so they can do what they want, but no intellectual, stimulated people opposing them and the nonsense that they're doing. This country has gone to hell. If it isn't at hell already, it's at the door knocking.
Mm-hmm.
All because of political nonsense. No, this nonsense does not have to be sponsored by the state. What the sponsor, the state isn't sponsoring any groups that will uplift us. I have not heard about a classical music show or anything for God knows how long. I don't hear anything about it. But every year, after year after year, you got people on the road jumping up, doing nastiness, and people give them praises for it. So the little church will come along, and they will be the next generation doing the same nastiness. Because
you're right. We have to stop it, and which leads me to a very important question that I want to ask the Reverend. What I know you're not a lawyer, but I'm saying that shouldn't there be some kind of legal ramification for this, because we can see the faces of the children. Because listen guys, what I'm about, Mr. Franklyn, is what are we going to do about this? We can see the faces of the adults in there as you watch the video, right? And you can see some of the faces of the others that are standing around. And I'm saying, are there laws on the books that will be able to be used to prosecute these people? Because unless you do something like this, and in addition to that, the state-run organization should be called into question about this. But it should not be something that we just talk about and we do nothing about it. Reverend, what are your thoughts?
Well, first thing, Marcia, you would have heard me mention something a little earlier about walk-up police. And walk-up police were introduced into this component of the CROPOVER celebration to help to control this type of conduct, primarily between adults. And I would imagine that if they saw it, you would be arrested, ticketed, or whatever it is you do. When I see this, I am calling on the police force. I don't even think we should have need to call on the police force. If the police are going to monitor, and they are monitoring our Facebook chats and so forth, and they're going to pursue persons in, for example, in matters to do with defamation of character and so forth that we are hearing so much about, certainly this is something the police should be investigating very seriously and taking action against. The Child Care Board should be engaging this matter as well. And there should be some legal recourse in terms of the Child Care Board where the parents of these children are concerned. And these are the two areas that come to my mind right off the top of my head that I believe should be enacted and should be engaged in terms of the behavior and conduct here. This has to be something sanctioned by adults and sanctioned by children, by parents who allow their children to go out into the street and conduct themselves in this manner. And you see, I believe this is where the big problem in Barbados has arrived. it has arisen in the household, in the home, where parents are not taking the responsibility of training their children and impacting and putting into their children proper values of life. This is where it all begins. It doesn't begin in the school. It doesn't begin in the cultural environment. It begins in the home. And unfortunately, I am sad to say that we have far too many homes where, in terms of my own experience in counseling, I have had situations where one child who was engaged in a matter with his parents, separated from them by a representative of one of the international agencies, said that his stepfather makes him watch his cousins through a hole in the cardboard in the house having sex together, and he was a primary school student. That is happening in his home. And so we really need to get very serious about these matters, first of all, from a parental perspective. And I really want to encourage people, when you see persons acting in this matter, in the United States of America, you would have people pick up a phone and call the police, or call the I can't remember the official name of the child protection agency in the United States, but they would call them, and you may even have your child removed from your house and from your household. These are things that we have to get very serious about. And I agree. I'm not sure how to pronounce this word. Remien 6070. I agree. There are parents who are watching porn and having sex in front of their children and leaving pornographic pictures and movies and cell phones, not monitoring their cell phones and their tablets and their devices, not putting parental controls on them, and children are accessing all of this information, many out of curiosity. We have to take action.
Yeah, I'm here thinking that one of the action points could be, I mean, I guess I'm sorry, Lynette is not here as a lawyer. She probably will be coming on a little later. But where we, can someone, bring this to the attention of the police, go and make a complaint to the police. Is the same way if we saw somebody stole and beat up somebody on the road, then we could go to the police and say, you know what, I saw so and so hit an old man on his head, and or this, like what they did with those. What about what the kids did with the homeless people? And they
Mhm.
have dealt with those children legally. So why can't we make an official complaint to the police? Because we would be just as culpable as those people who are watching and cheering on. Caswell, what do you think about that?
We don't need to make a complaint to the police. The police are monitoring all of these things.
That's the same
You
thing I was
do not
just thinking,
have
Cas.
to
Yeah.
make a complaint to the police if they see you park. Somebody got see you parking on a place in town. Police will ticket you, or they will write you up, whatever. You don't have to. Two people fighting, nobody gonna go make a complaint. Police sees it, they can take action. This problem here, the police will not take action of it because they will look at they're gonna get promoted because this has political backing, and the politicians are responsible for the upward mobility of the policemen. As a matter of fact, they have taken over that responsibility. When it is not theirs, they have taken over. So this is called contributing to the delinquency of a minor. It is their crime. However, the police are in trouble that because it is state sponsored. It is the same state sponsored behavior as people cheating on elections and nobody doing anything about it because the chief electoral officer is a public officer and ain't gonna get promoted again. So right now I can check it out. Everything that the politicians have put their hands on, is this reverse Midas? It turns to you know what, brown fecal matter. It don't turn to gold. Everything the
Mm-hmm.
politicians put their hand on, they have destroyed. They
Mm-hmm.
destroyed our society. Look, let me tell you something. And it's only aimed at black people.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me if you see any white children out there doing this nonsense. Tell me if you see any Indian children out there doing that nonsense. I am not racist. I am not. It is not even from a racist perspective. These people, we are destroying our own society for money, for whatever it is. I do not know. But watch, the white people, they might get involved with that. They might have the blue box here, walk up front every year, and that's their thing. But they're gonna let children in their jam not walk up on the body. But you're gonna see one Indian in
No,
this thing. I
no.
am. The thing is, my office is near to a mosque, and I have to admire
Hmm.
those little children. Some of them I think can be much more than three. heading to the mosque every day for something they call madrasa, because they teach them how to be good citizens, how to be good Muslims. We ain't doing that now. Go to the churches and see how many people are in Sunday school. As a matter of fact, Sunday school now is something completely different than going to church. All state-sponsored. This is state-sponsored decadence. And the politicians out there jumping up. Then you can see a prime minister on our TV screen, because I said on YouTube, jumping up and in a frenzy, and people to a song saying, "We don't give a," and she's dancing to that, talking about her that she doesn't give a, but we're seeing it. None of them ain't seem to give a, you know what. And if you have people of the cloth, I hate to call it over already, but people of the cloth who sit down in cabinet and shut up, because my pick as a minister remains, if I don't sit down, if I speak out against these things, you know, we have people of the cloth in cabinet, you know.
That's right, and in Senate.
And they sit down. Hold on, let me talk about the Senate. Ever Craig. I sit down because he's asking about this same-sex marriage. I think he's even a subordinate. So don't let me go there, because that hurts my heart. They sit down to guard their picks. So they shut up because they don't want to offend the people who can put them in the Senate or keep them in the Senate. You see, look, we have to have some sort of integrity. Integrity is like hen's teeth now. Very scarce.
But weren't we talking at one point in time, Caswell, about integrity legislation? Weren't we talking about legislation to be passed through Parliament for parliamentarians to be held accountable, even in terms of their assets? Why do we have to have agreements? Why do we have to have all this nonsense going on through the Parliament and Senate when it comes to integrity? This should be something everybody signs on to. But obviously, they're not interested in integrity. And I want to say, Caswell, I am tired of party politics. We must now do what is in the best interest for our country, whether it is DLP, BLP, APP, or whatever P you want to call it. We must now do things in the best interest of our country. And it's regrettable that there are so many lackeys, so many people that are in people's pockets and under the influence of so many persons. You cannot make a righteous judgment. You cannot make a just decision. You cannot do what is right. And when that happens, you have a country that does not regard righteousness. And when a country doesn't regard righteousness, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah. You know, there is I just want to read an article that was in the newspaper that just bothered me so much, because I don't know if a lot of people know, but I work with children in Barbados, children and young people over 20 years. I put on a lot of different events, etc. Right? And at the end of the kiddies condiment, Pastor Ferdinand, and I'm seeing Heather is in as well, a regular contributor. Heather is in, so I'm going to try to get her in as soon as I remove this picture. But I want Heather to, when she comes in, to make a comment on this. But listen to this article. And then look at the article I have on the screen. It said, CROPOVER a success despite some issues, says NCF. So this is a state saying how successful CROPOVER was. All right. And but here we saw what we saw that happened on 4-day morning. And listen to the band leaders. Band leaders complain about organization of Juna Kadooment as parents demand refunds. This is written by Sharia Brathwaite. Several band leaders are distancing themselves from what they said was the confusion that occurred during Juna Kadooment, as scores of parents demand refunds. In an interview with Barbados Today, President of Barbados Association of Masqueraders, Jason Thompson, said that as far as his membership and several other costume designers are concerned, last Saturday's event had failed, but what transpired was no fault of theirs. Among the issues the band leaders that the band leaders discontented were the late advertising of the event. Children having to wait up to 5 hours before parading on the stage, which led to some fainting and having to seek medical attention. Children not receiving any water in the heat. Lack of proper communication between NCF and band leaders. Rude and disrespectful attitudes of NCF marshals, and how prizes were awarded. Thompson said band leaders were not responsible for those situations, and if they were forced to issue any refunds, they would seek reimbursement from somewhere, as he sought to clear the air in an attempt to diffuse the situation between band leaders and upset parents. Thompson explained, the day after Junior Kadooment, many band leaders would have reached out indicating that they were not satisfied with what took place. Based on the amount of band leaders, I saw it to be a very important matter which needed immediate attention. So we had a meeting yesterday where we came together and to be given the opportunity where we could all explain and discuss our challenges and problems that we would have encountered. The reason they said for taking a conversation to the public is so the public understands that it is not the fault of the band leaders that these negative impact took place, but rather that of the logistics and the organization of the NCF. This is a way this is a way for band leaders to allow the public to know. Okay, so it goes on, it goes on and goes on. And it's a really very sad article to read. And when I read that, what I hear in that is abuse of children. Children who are fainting in the sun, fainting for lack of water, because the NCF is supposed to provide the hospitality for the children, etc. Children waiting for 5 hours. Did this organization? And what I know that when you have events for children, that's one of the things that you make sure is that the children are comfortable, right? That they would not have to run. I can't imagine myself, Dr. Purdy, having an event at Praise Academy and children are fainting in the back, and children passing out and have to seek medical attention. What is that? That is that, and that is a state. This is a state event. Did you know of this? Did you know of this, Pastor Freddie?
You are dealing with an organizational matter here, Marcia. This has been going on for years, and it is unfortunate that we are coming into this event this year and facing these challenges. This is something that has been repeated. I mean, I host events as well. I've hosted some of the biggest meetings, not only here in Barbados, in Trinidad, massive meetings. I've been a part of the organization of meetings with over 56 and 50, 60 and 70,000 people. And one of the things that we are very careful on is in matters of organization. We ensure persons have their own dressing room. We ensure persons that have dressing rooms are very well equipped. They are provided with liquids and all these kind. And if you're going to make that effort as it relates to an adult, how much more child, especially when we are hearing all this talk about climate change and all this kind of stuff, where we are experiencing a lot more heat than we have experienced before. You should have known going into the event, even in the nighttime, Marcia, the nights are warm. And you should have known for a child, goodness gracious, for me, I mean, you know me, I perspire like a pig. And I have to have water at my disposal. In every event I'm in, I have a bottle of water next to me. I'm an adult. And you're going to be engaging these matters. So what you're dealing with here is poor organization. And I must say, unfortunately, I believe the Accountant General makes it very clear how pathetic the aspect of organization is in governmental offices, all the way back through to financial matters. And I am aware of the fact, even in terms of the private sector, we've heard it over and over again. If the private sector was to run their business the way government runs government, they'd be bankrupt. They'll be out of business. Because it is poor organization that we're dealing with here, poor planning. So you can't really seriously express that an event is successful. And the main players that are involved in the event are saying something different. What you
I,
need
I,
to do is to shut up your mouth, sit down with the people, find out what went wrong so that next year it's not repeated again.
Yes.
but before I say anything else, I have to correct you on this. If private sector run their businesses like government, they'll be bankrupt.
Well,
Most
go right
most
ahead.
businesses
I
in
could be
Barbados
corrected.
depends on civil servants to get their businesses being operational and functional and profitable. The thing is, people only see the the few that are bad, and they then extrapolate them to the whole society. We have damn good civil servants that run this place. The problem isn't civil servants. The problem the politicians who have taken over the civil service and everything else. The civil service ran this country for years. We exported civil servants to all over the Caribbean to help develop those countries. Don't forget, I remember I was a little boy, I went to St. Lucia in 1976 or 77, and we went touring. Acting Commissioner of Police was a Barbadian. Acting Postmaster General was a Barbadian. Um, acting Permanent Secretary was also a Barbadian. We exported civil servants in this place. Now the civil servants are being destroyed, not allowed to do their work. So don't let the people go on about that. So mind you, I'm very much union hat. I have to let you know that
That's fine.
civil servants,
That is fine.
civil servants have run this business and have run it well, but politicians have come in and have destroyed it, brought in all the nastiness that you see here. So let me talk about the children now.
Thank you.
And then we're going to go to Heather, and I have a caller on the line.
Right?
Go ahead.
Listen to me. Bring up the children in the way they should go. They want the children doing this because the children will vote for them down the road. You don't see every year at common entrance, you see a whole bunch of politicians rushing into schools, giving children little rulers and pencils and little books and stuff because they want the children. It's 12, 6 years down the road to remember that they are polluting everything they put their hands on. I don't know why people don't tell politicians keep away from my children. That is what should be happening. So now you have these little children now, they are fainting and passing and all kind of thing. Let children be children. They will be. They have a lot of years. I have been that much longer. I've been a child because I am over 60 now, and I was an adult from my teens. And so I could wait to do adult things. I do not have to I didn't have to do adult things in my youth, in my formative years when I was a child. Now we are asking the little children to do adult things. We are making them men and women. A lot of them are disrespectful because they are allowed to participate in things that they have no right in, and it is all state sponsored. We need governance that will say to us, we are about integrity first, and anything else after. Mind you, the integrity bill supposed to be in the Senate tomorrow, and they're trying to set up a scenario where they're going to blame the independent senators for failing. Mind you, they never put it to the vote the last time, so you cannot blame anybody. They knew they didn't want it passed. All this show and tell.
Actually, Lynette is going to come on a little later, and we're going to touch on that. But let me just we have a caller here waiting, but let me hear Heather. Yeah, but let Heather just say something very, very brief on this, and then I go to the caller.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night,
what I would say is I haven't been to a Cadiz Kaduma in about 17 years.
Wow.
So the last time I was there, my son was about 10, and he participated, and I don't remember it having any logistical issues that people have been talking about in the newspaper. To me, it was pretty straightforward. So this was kind of shocking to hear that people had all of these issues, so much so that commentators had to take to social media to say that this is what happened is not what the authorities said that happened. So it had you kind of weigh who was right you weren't sure who to believe.